Hello once again. Hey, it's Dan here in the workshop. Finally getting down to the wire on this Sky Ranger 40. Thank God. What you see here is the wing complete. Servos installed. Ailerons installed. She's ready to be installed on the airplane. I spent a good portion of the yesterday, a couple hours today finishing it up. I've got the decided to go with the American roundels look. These are only 4 inches. I wish I could have gotten a bigger one in the middle, but these things are outrageously expensive. I forget. I think two of these were $10. I don't know. Roundel is the older American symbols. I'm real pleased the way she came out. On the other side here, on the back side, you can see I got the servos all hooked up finally today. And these rods here, this rod is a little bit too long probably. I'm going to have to cut it off. I'm not sure what I dislike the most. Cutting the hinges for the ailerons. There's 4 hinges in each of these ailerons. Cutting the hinge slots and picking them out with a Dubro pick, or trying to install these control horns and getting them lined up and getting them squared away and getting the holes down through them. I don't know which ones, but I don't I don't like either one of them, but it's what you got to do. So I put a couple stripes on the bottom. I often fly in the morning and it's often foggy at the field, so this white wing will disappear in the clouds real quickly. So I put a couple stripes. I had a roll of this stuff. It's just tape, accent tape. I've never used it before. I wonder it works. You just put it on there. It's real thin. You put it on, squish it down. Works good. So anyway, I'm pretty pleased the way it came out. Looks good to me. And I need your help. I really want to know if you look at these things here. These things here, you see these screws that come up through here. These ugly screws, I thought I could make them go on the bottom where you wouldn't see them, but you can't. You got to put them up through the control horn and in this top piece where you keep them. So you got these ugly threaded screws sticking up through the back side of the control horn. Same over here. I just can't stand those things. I don't know, rack my hand on them, cut my hand or something. I'm going to get rid of those somehow or other, but I'm not exactly sure how to do it. I could I'm an old channel lock guy from my hometown of Meadville, Pennsylvania. These are channel lock number 357s, these flush cutting pliers. So I could take these and I could put them on here, and I'm sure I give that a good squeeze. That head of that screw will come flying right up and put my eye out. So I could do that, and then that'll still leave a little point on there, and I could take a good old hand file and try to file them down gently. Or I'm thinking, I don't know, this thing here is called a Dremel stylus. A Dremel stylus tool, and I've got a cutoff wheel in here, and I don't know if I have a steady enough hand. Put this in here and cut that off the best I can. I could put some tape around here. And either way, if I cut them with the pliers, or I could use the good old diagonal pliers, good old number 337 pliers. I've made many of those in back in my hometown, Meadville, Pennsylvania, working my way through college. That'll snip that off, but you'd still have to file it with a file. So I'm going to do something. I'm not sure what. I hope you'll leave me a comment and tell me how you did yours. A lot of guys, you know, you build these planes, you just see these ugly screws sticking up all over. You know, they just leave them alone. But I can't do it. I'm going to get rid of them because they're sticking up on the top. They're terrible looking. And they're sharp. Cut your hand on them. So let me know, what do you think the best way would be? Let's see if it's, I'll show you on the bottom. Flip her over here. I'm going to probably cut these cut these wires off here. These are a little too long, you know, you get them. I got a Z-bend. On these things here, these Z-bends, you can do these by hand with a pair of needle nose pliers, but I'm a tool freak, so in the drawer over here in the cabinet, I've got a pair of Z-bend pliers. I didn't bring them out, but they're real cheap from Hobby King. I bought them years ago. You stick the wire in there and squeeze it, boom, perfect Z-bend on the end of this. So if you don't have a pair of those, I highly suggest you get a pair. This down here, I like this screw that goes in here. The hex screw goes in. That makes that good and tight, and you can adjust that. But I think I left the wire a little bit too long. I'll probably cut another 1/4 inch off that or so, or leave it alone. So let's see. I got my little tester hooked up here. See what it'll do. Negative, negative. Okay, that's a negative. There's the negative. I'll just show you how she goes. You can see that I'm using these high-tech servos. They're really good, but I've got way too much. I think you're supposed to have a 1/2 inch throw. Somehow I've got to cut down the throws on these ailerons. On the linkage here and the linkage here, got to adjust them, change the hole positions, cut them way down, because this thing's way too much. But and I'll tell you what else I did when you install these ailerons. Whoop, make this stand up here. When you install these things, I always like, being an old woodworker, I like to make things fit tightly, but this RC stuff you can't. You need to leave a pretty good gap down along here, because when this thing turns, it'll jack that hinge right up out of there if you don't leave a big enough gap. So on one hand, one of my hobbies is try to make it real precise, and these other things you can't be so precise. So anyway, I actually took a piece of plastic, I don't know where it is, a thick piece of plastic. I made what they call a gauge, a hinge gauge, and you stick it down in this gap down in here, and I used epoxy. I didn't use CA glue. These hinges are epoxied in both sides. I epoxied them in this side first, did all that, and then finally finished up today. I cut the slots in here and slots in here and slots in here, and I used 10-minute epoxy, Bob Smith epoxy. Put it in there, and you set this down. After you dry fit it first, make sure it's all going to fit, and then you put your epoxy in there, get it down in the hole with a little card, and push it in and wipe it off real quick. Got to work quickly. So and then you take a gauge, the little plastic gauge, and I stick it underneath there. Make sure this gap all the way down here is the same, because when you turn this aileron at its full deflection either way, it'll jack those hinges right up out of there if it's rubbing. You try to make it too tight. So anyway, there she is. She looks pretty good. I'm about to put it on the airplane, and probably make another little video, show you what the airplane's going to look like, and that'll be it. So thanks for hanging in there during these crazy videos. I hope you've learned something along the way. I have, that's for sure. And the stuff we've talked about can be applied not to this airplane, not only to this airplane, but any other airplane you're making. So thanks a lot for watching out here.